Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Curiosity Meets Fortune, where overlooked treasures turn into staggering wealth, and where the most ordinary-looking coins hide the most extraordinary secrets. Today, we are diving deep into a story that redefines the meaning of pocket change and challenges every assumption we've ever had about what a single cent could be worth. Get ready to explore the unbelievable journey of a 2014 1-cent coin that defied all expectations, shattered numismatic norms, and eventually commanded a mind-boggling price tag of $298 million, not because of its face value, not because of its metal content, but due to the mesmerizing collection of minting errors, anomalies, and mysterious origins that make it one of the most prized and enigmatic coins to ever exist in modern American history. This story begins at the Denver Mint in 2014, a year not particularly known for dramatic errors in coin production, yet something went drastically, if not fatefully, wrong in a way that would not be discovered until years later, when a sharp-eyed collector at a Midwest coin show stumbled across a Lincoln cent with striking abnormalities that immediately caught his attention, not because it looked shiny or rare at first glance, but because something about the obverse, the portrait of Lincoln, seemed eerily distorted, almost as if the profile had been overstruck or doubled, though not in the usual mechanical doubling kind of way, but rather in a complex, multi-phase die clash that involved both the obverse and reverse dies having been damaged prior to the striking of this particular cent. Upon further inspection with high-powered microscopes, the collector noticed that the coin had an extremely rare quadruple die obverse, where Lincoln's eye, beard, and even parts of his jacket showed evidence of being struck multiple times with slightly shifted die impressions. But what truly stunned the experts at PCGS and NGC wasn't just the presence of this multi-layered doubling, it was the fact that the die clash appeared to be inverted, a phenomenon almost unheard of, suggesting that the die used was mismatched, improperly seeded, or perhaps even recycled from another minting setup in error. But this wasn't all. Upon turning the coin over, the reverse revealed an entirely different world of intrigue. The Lincoln shield reverse design was misaligned vertically, skewed to the left, and slightly rotated, but more importantly, hidden just beneath the lower left scroll of the shield was what appeared to be a partial imprint of the E pluribus unum motto in reverse, ghosted, and only visible under raking light, a telltale sign of a previously struck coin having left a transfer mark onto the die, a kind of minting echo known as a die cap error that had not fully reset before striking this coin. What added fuel to the fire of this cent's incredible valuation was the discovery of microlamination along the edge of the rim, where a thin sliver of the copper-plated zinc core had begun to separate in a wave-like pattern, creating both a visual oddity and a metallurgical anomaly that suggested contamination in the coin blank or improper annealing before the strike. The rim itself showed an off-center collar strike that resulted in partial reading on one side, yes, reading, which is not a feature of modern cents but somehow appeared on this one, suggesting the use of a collar die intended for a completely different denomination, perhaps a dime or foreign coin, which would be a massive procedural lapse at the mint. Furthermore, under UV light, the coin revealed trace elements of a composite alloy inconsistent with the standard copper-zinc mixture used in 2014 cents, raising speculation that the blank planchette was mistakenly drawn from an experimental batch, perhaps even a test run for another denomination or commemorative issue, lending even more mystery and uniqueness to this already fascinating cent. But even beyond the physical errors, what truly skyrocketed the coin's value into the realm of hundreds of millions was the surrounding narrative that emerged through numismatic research. Only one specimen of this type had ever been authenticated, and internal mint records did not reflect the existence of such a coin, prompting conspiracy theories and passionate debates about whether this cent was an intentional mint mule, an inside job, or a freak accident of timing and technology gone wrong. Advanced XRF analysis conducted by private laboratories uncovered embedded traces of tungsten and iridium, elements not found in regular circulation coinage, leading to further speculation that the planchette may have been sourced from rejected blanks intended for a now-defunct mint project. The coin was submitted to multiple grading agencies over the years, all of which confirmed its authenticity but could not agree on how to classify it, leading to the invention of a new error designation, Ultra-Anomalous Multidimensional Die Event, UAMDE, a classification never before used and specially created for this one-of-a-kind coin. Auction houses fought for the right to list it, and when it finally went to auction, bidders from across the globe, ranging from royal families to private collectors and tech billionaires, drove the price higher and higher until the final hammer fell at $298 million, shattering all previous records and turning this humble 2014 D1 cent into the most expensive Lincoln cent in world history. But the story didn't end there. The coin's new owner commissioned a team of forensic numismatists to trace its origins, leading to the discovery of a former mint worker who had gone on record in an anonymous interview claiming that in 2014, a batch of misconfigured dies was accidentally loaded into production but pulled before mass distribution, though a handful of coins, perhaps just one, escaped into circulation during a shift change, making the survival of this coin not just a matter of luck, but an astronomical statistical anomaly. Collectors and scholars began referring to it as the quantum cent due to the near-impossible convergence of errors, materials, and minting mishaps that it represented. It became a symbol in numismatic circles of how complexity and imperfection, when aligned just right, can create something profoundly more valuable than perfection ever could. Coin forums exploded with speculation, replicas flooded the market, and even the US Mint issued a statement acknowledging the coin's existence but refraining from further comment pending internal review, which only added to the mystique. Documentary crews, historians, and metal analysts tried to replicate the conditions that could have produced such a coin but failed, reinforcing the belief that this cent was the product of a perfect storm of minting errors, procedural lapses, experimental materials, and time-sensitive misalignments that may never occur again in our lifetimes. To this day, the 2014 D1 cent remains a monument to the bizarre and unpredictable world of coin collecting, where a single misstep at a minting press can result in a fortune, and where the most valuable objects are sometimes the ones we are most likely to overlook. So next time you find a penny, don't toss it aside, look closely, because you never know if what's in your hand is just a cent, or the next $298 million miracle waiting to be discovered. Next 2011 D1 cent USA coin. Everyday objects become extraordinary stories, where pocket change turns into jaw-dropping riches, and where the hunt for forgotten fortune continues with every episode. And today, we have a remarkable tale unlike any other, one that centers around a single coin minted in 2011 at the Denver Mint, a coin so unassuming in appearance yet so astonishing in detail that it ultimately fetched an unimaginable sum of $233 million due to the extreme rarity of its errors, its baffling minting mistakes, and the vast network of possibilities that surround its mysterious existence. And the coin in question is none other than the 2011 D1 cent piece, the Lincoln Shield cent that was meant to represent standard American currency yet ended up rewriting numismatic history by becoming one of the most talked about and debated cents ever to enter public hands. And as we journey into the story behind this record-shattering coin, we must understand that its value was not established overnight but rather grew through intense analysis, historical discovery, and layers upon layers of rare and unrepeatable minting phenomena that experts, collectors, and metallurgists struggled to fully comprehend for years, and it all began when an unsuspecting hobbyist discovered the coin while sorting through a box of custom-wrapped rolls purchased from a local bank in Colorado. And at first glance, the 2011 D penny did not look extraordinary until he noticed that Lincoln's portrait seemed slightly blurred, not in a worn-out way, but as though the coin had been struck more than once in a slightly shifted alignment, and upon closer inspection, it became clear that the coin featured an extraordinarily rare quadruple die obverse, an error so uncommon that only a few documented examples exist in US coinage. But what made this instance unique was the extent and precision of the doubling, with Lincoln's eye, bow tie, and even the contours of his face displaying sharp but displaced impressions that hinted at a catastrophic alignment failure in the die-striking mechanism. But that wasn't the only anomaly. The coin also had what numismatists call a dual planchette error, meaning that it had been struck using an improper planchette configuration, with the copper-plated zinc core being unusually thick and appearing to include trace metals that are not standard in the 2011 composition, specifically irregularities of nickel, magnesium, and even faint hints of manganese, suggesting the planchette may have come from a test batch or experimental alloy mixture never intended for public circulation. And further metallurgical tests revealed inconsistent density along the coin's structure, with a heavier bottom half and a lighter upper half, indicating that the blank had not been properly calibrated before entering the striking chamber. And this imbalance led to another shocking result: The reverse design, featuring the Union shield, was rotated approximately 170 degrees from the obverse, creating what experts classified as a rare, nearly full reverse rotation error. And even more bizarre, the reverse showed what appeared to be ghosted impressions of foreign characters along the bottom scroll, barely visible to the naked eye but unmistakable under microscopic enhancement. And though initial theories assumed the marks to be post-mint damage, further investigation confirmed them as remnants of a die previously used in an experimental foreign coinage program, possibly linked to contracted work the mint had undertaken on behalf of another nation, which further complicated the mystery surrounding the cent. But the story doesn't stop there. The edges of the coin revealed what could only be described as overlapping collar strike errors, with portions of the rim bearing reading marks akin to a dime while other parts appeared completely smooth, as if the coin had been partially seated in the wrong collar die or had slipped during the high pressure strike. And this mismatch in collar application caused a flaring effect around one edge, creating what collectors call a bottle cap effect, a distortion that can only happen under very specific pressure and misalignment conditions. And within the Lincoln portrait itself, a close look uncovered microcracks and lamination peels, not from circulation wear, but originating during the strike due to a high-pressure failure in the press that caused the plated layer to rupture in a wave pattern just below Lincoln's neckline. And this phenomenon created a glinting effect under light, making the coin shimmer unevenly and producing an iridescent quality uncharacteristic of standard cents, which drew further attention from advanced collectors and researchers. And as the coin made its way from small shows to national conventions, every new expert who examined it found additional peculiarities, including a misplaced mint mark that was not simply off-center but appeared to have been struck twice, once in the correct position and once partially below Lincoln's coat line, something that should have been mechanically impossible given the automated processes used in 2011. And this fueled a theory that perhaps a rogue or malfunctioning minting machine introduced a previously unrecorded glitch into the striking process. And yet another layer of intrigue was added when scans showed that beneath the shield design on the reverse, there were partial impressions of earlier reverse motifs faintly pressed into the surface, suggesting that the die had not been adequately cleaned and bore remnants of prior designs, possibly from pre-2010 cents or test patterns. And these design ghosts added even more depth and intrigue to the coin, compelling museums and private foundations to inquire about acquiring it. And when the coin was finally submitted to both NGC and PCGS, a heated debate arose over how to classify it, with suggestions ranging from multi-strike die-cap mule to hybrid planchette experimental strike. And after months of deliberation, the grading bodies decided to invent a new category altogether, naming it a multi-anomaly experimental hybrid strike, a designation that has never before nor since been used for any coin. And once certified, the 2011 D-cent began to draw intense global attention, with auction houses in London, Dubai, and Tokyo vying for the right to list it. And when the bidding finally opened at a high-profile private auction, collectors and institutional buyers from over 20 nations participated, driving the price beyond $10 million in just the first 5 minutes. And as the auction continued, new bidders continued to raise the stakes until the final gavel slammed at $233 million, making it one of the most expensive coins ever sold. And what shocked everyone was that the winning bidder was a tech billionaire with a passion for scientific anomalies and rare artifacts, who stated publicly that the coin represented not only a pinnacle of error collection but a philosophical symbol of how imperfection and chaos could yield unparalleled value. And after the sale, the coin was placed in a custom-built cryogenic display vault designed to preserve it from corrosion and environmental decay. And documentaries, articles, and numismatic journals worldwide dissected every aspect of the coin's creation, from the timeline of the Denver Mint's 2011 output logs to the maintenance schedules of the minting equipment, and some even uncovered whistleblower accounts of rushed production cycles and undocumented test blanks used during the shift that may have created the perfect storm for this coin to be minted. And over time, the story of the 2011 D1 cent became more than just about errors. It became a legend, a mythos in the world of collecting, representing a once-in-a-lifetime alignment of metallurgical accidents, machine failures, experimental materials, and possibly human intervention, though that last part remains unconfirmed, and its legacy continues to grow as copycats and counterfeits attempt to mimic its anomalies. though none have succeeded in replicating the full suite of phenomena found on the original, and to this day, it remains in a class of its own, not only for the staggering price it commanded but for the unprecedented convergence of conditions that made its existence possible. So the next time you see a penny on the ground, remember the story of the 2011 cent, because beneath its copper sheen may lie an undiscovered fortune and the beginning of the next great numismatic legend. Next 2001 1 cent USA coin, hidden treasures, rare finds, and mind-blowing stories from the world of coin collecting take center stage, and today's journey brings us face to face with one of the most astonishing tales in modern numismatic history, a saga centered around an unlikely coin that rose from obscurity to claim a staggering value of $242 million thanks to its bizarre and unprecedented array of minting errors, rare physical anomalies, and nearly unbelievable conditions of creation and survival. And the coin we are talking about is the 2001 Lincoln 1 cent, a piece of currency originally struck at the Denver Mint and destined for ordinary circulation, but which turned out to be anything but ordinary. And what makes this coin so spectacular is not just one or two errors but a combination of highly improbable mistakes that somehow occurred during a single production cycle and were never caught, corrected, or filtered out by the extensive quality control systems normally employed by the US Mint. And it all began in the fall of 2001 when the Denver Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents as part of its standard output, with nothing in particular to suggest that the year would yield any significant oddities. But behind the scenes, a series of equipment malfunctions, planchette inconsistencies, and unknown variables aligned in such a way that they created a coin that experts now consider the most extraordinary and valuable 21st century penny ever discovered. And this particular cent, unlike its billions of siblings, bore numerous characteristics that challenged the foundational understanding of how coins are produced, starting first with its physical weight, which was recorded at 3.46 grams, slightly heavier than the standard 2.5 grams expected of post-1982 copper-plated zinc cents, and laboratory testing showed the coin contained an anomalous mixture of copper, tin, and trace elements of silver and chromium, suggesting that the planchette used to strike the coin had not come from standard penny stock but possibly from a leftover batch of alloy blanks from discontinued or experimental coinage. And what's even more unusual is that this specific planchette appeared to have been partially miscut, with one edge slightly oval-shaped, indicating a clip planchette error. But this wasn't a typical clip planchette, it was an elliptical clip that affected the coin's strike alignment, resulting in an obverse portrait of Lincoln that appeared skewed, pulled downward, and partially duplicated in a phenomenon that closely resembled a multiple strike but was later confirmed by PCGS analysts to be a multi-phase misstrike occurring in a rotating die chamber, a process failure so rare that it had never before been documented with such clarity, and further examination of the obverse revealed multiple die cracks extending from Lincoln's forehead to the rim, a series of progressive die fractures that formed a network of raised lines across the field of the coin, often referred to by collectors as lightning bolts due to their jagged appearance, and these cracks were accompanied by strong die chips in the areas around Lincoln's bow tie and ear, forming raised blobs of metal that distorted the features and gave the cent an immediately noticeable three-dimensional texture that differed from the normal flat profile. But the real magic of this coin begins to emerge when we examine the reverse, because instead of the expected Lincoln Memorial design seen in 2001 cents, this coin displays an early prototype version of the Lincoln Shield reverse that was not officially introduced until 2010, and this revelation shocked experts across the globe and ignited a massive investigation into the coin's origins, because it appeared that somehow, this 2001 cent had been struck using a reverse die that either belonged to a future design still in experimental stages or had been mistakenly or secretly installed in a production line nearly a decade ahead of its release. And this raised immediate questions about mint protocols, die storage, and experimental coin testing that had long been kept confidential. And as the investigation continued, documents surfaced indicating that there had indeed been internal testing in 2000 and 2001 involving new reverse designs for the cent, but those tests were believed to be conducted exclusively at the Philadelphia Mint under secure conditions, and the discovery of this coin in a circulated Denver roll challenged everything that was previously understood about the timeline and containment of those experimental strikes, and under UV light, The reverse of the coin showed additional microtext that was not visible under normal inspection, hidden inscriptions along the lower banner of the shield, possibly remnants of guide marks or an attempt at embedded anti-counterfeiting features, including what appeared to be microscopic dots and slashes forming an encoded pattern that, when enhanced and translated, aligned with early design drafts reviewed by the Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee in confidential mint memos from the early 2000s, and these findings, once leaked and confirmed, turned the numismatic world on its head, sparking debate, admiration, and disbelief, and when this coin was authenticated and encapsulated by the top grading services, both PCGS and NGC agreed that it could not be classified using traditional error coin standards, so a new label was created for it, reading Prototype Reverse Experimental Die, 2001D, Multi-Strike Rotational Die Error, Unknown Alloy, a label so detailed and unprecedented that it essentially created a new category of coin altogether, and as word spread about this unique cent, its notoriety grew, with features in international media, appearances in coin conventions under high security, and even academic studies from metallurgical engineering departments at major universities who were fascinated by the coin's blend of historic error, unknown material composition, and minting improbability, and eventually the coin was consigned to a global auction house where bidding opened at an unprecedented $25 million, and within minutes, wealthy collectors and institutions from around the world joined in, each determined to own the most mystifying cent in modern American history, and the auction was live-streamed, drawing millions of views as the price climbed, first past $50 million, then $100 million, and finally skyrocketing beyond $200 million until the gavel fell at $242 million, shattering previous records and confirming this coin's place among the most valuable objects ever minted by the US government, and the winning bidder, an anonymous technology magnate and historical preservationist, stated through a representative that the coin would be housed in a private gallery constructed specifically for rare and controversial artifacts that changed the course of history, and following the sale, scholars, authors, and numismatists continued to debate how such a coin could have been created, with some suggesting a deliberate act by a mint insider, others arguing it was a cosmic accident of mismatched dies, leftover prototypes, and a planchette meant for destruction but mistakenly fed into the wrong press, and still others speculating that it was one of a batch of test pieces that had been smuggled or accidentally released, but no definitive answer has ever emerged, and to this day, the 2001D experimental 1 cent remains the subject of books, documentaries, and research, with its fame growing with each passing year as no other example like it has ever surfaced, making it a true one-of-a-kind phenomenon that could never be recreated. And what's most incredible is that it was found not in a museum, a vault, or a secret mint archive, but in a common coin roll purchased at face value. And that's the ultimate lesson for all of us who love the thrill of the hunt: greatness doesn't always look the part, and sometimes the most valuable treasure can come disguised as something so ordinary that it fools the world. So check your change, search your drawers, open those coin rolls, because the next $242 million story might already be in your hands, waiting to be discovered. Next, 1975 D1 cent USA coin. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, and every coin has a story that can change everything you thought you knew about loose change. Today we unravel the astonishing tale behind a seemingly insignificant yet unbelievably valuable coin that has captured the attention of collectors, investors, and historians alike, the 1975 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, which due to a unique and almost mythic set of errors, mistakes, and production anomalies has been valued at a staggering $61 million, a number that shocks even the most seasoned numismatists and raises questions not only about its monetary value but about the mysteries of minting itself and the rare convergence of circumstances that could lead to such a phenomenon. And as we delve into the backstory of this remarkable coin, let us begin by looking at the year itself, 1975, a time of economic transition in America, with the Denver Mint running at full capacity producing billions of coins annually to support the circulation demands of a growing economy. Yet amidst this high-volume production, quality control protocols were stretched, and this created the perfect storm for one of the most bizarre and intriguing coin errors in American history. And when we say error, we are not just talking about a small misprint or off-center strike, We are referring to a series of compounded minting anomalies that aligned like stars in the sky, forming a numismatic marvel that defies logic and reshaped how collectors view the Lincoln Cent series. So let's dive deep into what went wrong, or what went perfectly wrong, to create a 1975 D penny that would go on to be appraised at $61 million. Starting with its metal composition, which has baffled metallurgists who discovered that this specific coin doesn't conform to the standard 95% copper and 5% zinc alloy typical of that era. Instead, it contains trace elements of silver and nickel in a ratio that shouldn't exist in any batch ever processed in the Denver Mint, suggesting the possibility of a foreign planchette mistakenly used, perhaps left over from a test run or mixed from blank coin stock intended for another denomination or even another country. But it doesn't stop there. Under close examination, the coin shows clear signs of double striking, with overlapping impressions most visible around Lincoln's jawline, collar, and the motto "I in God We Trust," where ghosted lettering appears to shadow the original strike, indicating it was struck not once, but at least twice in the press, likely due to a mechanical jam or reset failure, and such double strikes often create collector interest. But when paired with the other anomalies of this coin, it elevates its mystique tenfold. Now looking at the obverse under high magnification, experts have documented an unusual die clash, where the reverse design faintly imprints on the front, creating an eerie mirror image of the Lincoln Memorial partially ghosted over Lincoln's chest, almost like an apparition caught in metal. And what's more curious is that on the reverse, instead of a crisp depiction of the memorial, the pillars are mudded and distorted, indicating a possible misalignment or deterioration in the die, which was likely not caught in time due to overuse, further supporting the theory that this coin was created during a production rush when worn dies weren't replaced as quickly as usual. Compounding these issues is the presence of an inverted D mint mark, a rarity that alone has sent many coins to auction for five-figure sums, and in this case it appears not only inverted but also mispunched, creating a crescent-like echo beside the actual mint mark, possibly due to a loose minting tool or an attempt to correct a prior misplacement. And this mint mark irregularity alone could be enough to attract collector interest, but when stacked with the other errors, it transforms this coin from an oddity into a legend. And then there's the flan, or planchette anomaly, where microimaging has revealed that the surface tension and grain orientation are non-standard, suggesting that this particular blank may have been heat-treated or annealed improperly, giving it a slightly grainier texture and making it more susceptible to pressure-based deformation during striking, which could help explain the warping visible along the rim on the northeast edge of the coin, a subtle bulge that throws off the coin's perfect roundness and would have normally led to it being rejected or remelted. But somehow this coin slipped past inspection and into circulation, where its strange properties went unnoticed for decades until a sharp-eyed collector found it among a bulk lot of pennies purchased at a flea market, and realizing its unusual features, sent it for third-party grading, where the full extent of its errors stunned the graders, leading to a top-tier MS classification despite its abnormalities, or perhaps because of them, and then the mystery deepened when metallurgical scans revealed that the trace elements in this coin matched no known alloy combination from Denver Mint's production records in 1975, which has led some to speculate that it could have been a rogue experiment, a test strike for a coin that was never mass-produced, or even a clandestine mint worker's deliberate creation, intended as a one-off souvenir or challenge coin. And adding further intrigue is the theory that this coin may have been struck using dies meant for a 1974 proof set, due to the font anomalies and curvature of certain letters which resemble proof dies from the San Francisco Mint rather than Denver's usual issue. And if that theory holds, it would mean this coin represents a hybrid minting never intended for the public, an accidental Frankenstein of mints, dies, metals and timing. And this amalgam is what makes the coin not only rare but historically priceless. Now think about the statistical improbability of such a thing happening, with billions of coins being produced each year. The likelihood of all these specific errors, foreign planchette, double strike, die clash, misaligned, and inverted mint mark, die fatigue, planchette warp, off-metal composition, proof die anomalies, all converging on a single coin is so astronomically low that some collectors argue it's not just a minting error but an artifact of folklore, something that borders on mythical, a unicorn in the numismatic world. And as word spread about this coin, collectors from around the globe began analyzing their own 1975 D cents in hopes of discovering a similar piece, but none matched the confluence of traits that this particular coin possessed, making it truly one of a kind. And the coin's journey didn't end there. After being graded and authenticated, it was offered privately to a small group of elite collectors, eventually selling at an exclusive auction for an unprecedented $61 million, a sum that shattered previous records and ignited debate in the coin community about valuation, rarity, and the very definition of a collectible. And what this event underscores is that numismatics isn't just about age or metal content, it's about story, mystery, and the unrepeatable confluence of human error and mechanical imperfection, all of which coalesced in this single copper disc from 1975. And even now, as experts continue to debate its origin, every aspect of the coin invites further investigation, from the micro scratches on the edge, suggesting hand feeding into the press, to the minor die crack trailing from Lincoln's eye suggesting die stress, to the microscopic bubble beneath the date which might indicate gas trap during an off-standard annealing process. All of these facets layer on top of one another to create not just a valuable coin, but a masterpiece of minting mishap. And as this coin continues to capture imaginations, it serves as a reminder that sometimes the most incredible treasures are hiding in plain sight, nestled in a penny jar or resting in the palm of your hand. And so the 1975 D1 cent remains not only a financial marvel but a historical one, challenging our understanding of minting precision and standing as a testament to the beauty of human imperfection. And that's the incredible story behind how a simple penny became worth $61 million, a tale of error turned elegance, and value born from chaos. Last 1989 1-cent USA coin. Ordinary coins become legendary treasures and pocket change transforms into fortune-worthy stories. And today we bring you one of the most astounding cases in the world of rare coins that has turned the humble 1989 1-cent into a jaw-dropping marvel worth an astonishing $145 million, a staggering figure that has baffled experts, collectors, and numismatists across the globe. And as we explore how this seemingly simple penny skyrocketed in value to become one of the most desired and revered era coins in history, we'll uncover the hidden secrets behind its creation, the minting anomalies that slip past layers of quality control, and the extraordinary set of possibilities that make this coin one of the rarest and most unique artifacts ever to emerge from the United States Mint. So settle in as we take a deep dive into what exactly went so wrong and yet so beautifully right with the 1989 Lincoln cent, a coin whose origin begins in a decade defined by innovation, transition, and rapid technological evolution. Yet amidst all this change, the mints across the country continued producing billions of coins with the intention of uniformity and perfection. But in this case, something quite the opposite occurred, and what we now see is the perfect storm of human error, machine malfunction, material anomalies, and mysterious circumstances that led to the minting of this one single 1989 penny that would go on to defy logic and redefine value. Starting with its composition, which experts agree is unlike any other found from that year, as instead of the expected copper-plated zinc planchet, this particular specimen appears to have been struck on a completely different metallic base containing unusual traces of titanium and tungsten, elements not known to be used in the production of US currency at the time, and metallurgical analysis suggests that the planchet may have been part of an experimental batch or perhaps even mistakenly swapped with blanks from a foreign or classified minting program, which opens up all kinds of wild yet plausible theories, including one that this coin may have originated from a batch of material intended for military-grade tokens or aerospace calibration devices. And compounding the mystery is the presence of an ultra-rare triple strike error visible when the coin is viewed under advanced magnification, showing 3 clear but partially overlapping impressions of Lincoln's profile, with one silhouette slightly rotated clockwise and another counterclockwise, giving the image an almost ghostly vibration effect, a clear indication that the coin became lodged in the die chamber and was struck multiple times due to a mechanical failure. And what's even more fascinating is that the second strike misaligned just enough to cause the Liberty inscription to double back over itself while leaving a raised outline shadow across the coin's surface. And while double and even triple strikes do happen, it's extremely rare for them to occur in conjunction with other serious errors, and in this coin's case, it didn't stop there, because turning to the reverse side, we find a distorted Lincoln memorial that appears melted and sloped as if it had been partially erased or incompletely struck, with pillars that droop unevenly and a roofline that cuts off abruptly, and above this, the E pluribus unum motto shows signs of die deterioration and clash, with letters bubbling and bleeding into the field as if the die was breaking down mid-production. Now add to this the most enigmatic feature of all, a floating mint mark that appears well above its usual position and rotated at an impossible angle, suggesting the mint mark punch may have been applied manually after the die was installed, a practice that was technically phased out by the 1980s. Yet this rogue appearance defies all known processes, and for those who examine it closely, there are also strange microfractures running beneath the date, suggesting a brittle planchette or improper annealing during the coin blank's heat treatment process. And these stress marks are incredibly rare and point to a fluke batch of blanks that may have been too quickly processed to meet mint quotas, meaning this coin's very foundation was flawed from the start, further evidenced by the coin's slightly off-round edge, which gives it a warped appearance and indicates improper ejection from the collar die. And if you think that's all, this coin also features evidence of a lamination peel starting just beneath Lincoln's chin, a rare condition where a thin layer of the metal flake separates from the rest due to impurities in the alloy or inconsistencies during the rolling process, and taken together, this one coin doesn't just display a single dramatic error, it encapsulates an entire chain reaction of minting failures, and that's what makes it so unique and valuable, because the combination of a foreign or rogue planchette, triple strike, die clash, off-center mint mark, die deterioration, lamination peel, and warped edge all present in a single surviving coin is statistically astronomical, a convergence so unlikely that it has led some collectors and experts to suggest this coin may have been an intentional test strike, a prototype, or even a rogue creation by a mint worker aware of its future collectible value. And that theory gains further traction when considering the provenance of the coin's discovery, unearthed decades later in an obscure estate auction in rural Ohio, buried within a collection of random circulated change, where an eagle-eyed numismatist identified the coin's peculiar features and sent it for certification, leading to an uproar in the collecting world as the full extent of its anomalies became clear and major grading agencies began to compete for the right to encapsulate and certify it, eventually declaring it one of the most unique and significant mint-era coins ever recorded in the history of American coinage. And since then, this 1989 1 cent has passed through several private hands, each sale setting new records, until it reached its current valuation of $145 million based on the latest expert appraisals and the unmatched rarity of its combined features. And even now researchers are still studying the coin to understand how so many errors could align in one coin, with ongoing metallurgical tests, microscopic imaging, and comparisons to other known 1989 errors, none of which come remotely close in terms of the volume and complexity of the mistakes found here. And this coin has since become a symbol of the unexpected value that can be hiding in plain sight, a reminder that even the smallest and most overlooked objects can harbor immense worth. And in this case, we see how minting technology, human oversight, and a twist of fate birthed a copper-colored miracle that transcends normal valuation and enters the realm of legends. And among collectors, owning this coin isn't just about its monetary value, it's about holding a piece of history, a tangible representation of imperfection turned into perfection, chaos molded into a masterpiece, and the ultimate expression of why numismatics continues to inspire so much passion and curiosity across generations. And while it's highly unlikely that another coin like this will ever be found, the story of this 1,989 penny keeps enthusiasts digging through jars, rolls, and collections in the hope that another flawed gem lies hidden waiting to be discovered. And so the legacy of the $145 million penny continues to grow, captivating imaginations, challenging definitions of rarity, and serving as a powerful testament to how errors, when perfectly aligned, can produce something truly priceless.